Yo, that's interesting, I guess. Oh, yo. This is interesting. Like, damn. Look at the look at the look at the thumbnail. Okay, let's
Men
see.
is a movie about men and how they smell kind of funny. Written and directed by Alex Garland, who wrote the screenplay for 28 Days Later, the movie about an average day out in Britain, as well as being the writer for Dread, the movie about modern day America. He'd also previously directed
Okay,
Ex
good.
Machina and Annihilation, that movie
Oh,
where everything gets
okay.
annihilated. I don't know, I haven't seen it. As well as working on a screenplay for a movie adaptation of Halo that we never got to see, because God has abandoned us. Beginning with the average person's reaction to watching a Big Will video, we're introduced to the main character of the movie, Harper, played by Jessie Buckley. We see her standing there with a bloodied nose, watching as her husband quickly becomes her ex-husband by
What?
attempting to outsmart gravity. After watching
Huh?
a man attempting to figure
The
out his
fuck?
maximum velocity and being a little bit sad about
The
it, Harper is spending a holiday alone in the little English village of Kotson, a movie that you can tell takes place in England due to the sheer amount of depression this character is feeling. After arriving at the house and assaulting this poor defenseless apple with her mouth, she meets the owner, Jeffrey, a seemingly strange but nice man who seems like someone doing their best Boris Johnson impersonation.
Oh,
Tea in the cupboard, milk in the fridge.
okay.
Just where you'd expect to find them.
Yesterday I went, as we all must, to Peppa Pig World.
After getting settled into the house, Harper's on a video call with her friend Riley when suddenly the phone glitches to show something that can only be described as highly abnormal. She's not watching those Big Will videos again, is she? Scattered throughout the movie are various flashbacks to Harper's emotionally and physically abusive
Okay.
ex-husband, as they all revolve around him, threatening to take a short drop and a sudden stop from the balcony above if she attempts to divorce him. To which she responds with, "Nah, mate,"
Now get them.
What's your profanity?
causing him to inspect what their apartment looks like from the outside in, as he simply can't see the point of living with comically small genitals. The time away seems to be doing Harper some good, as she
Damn.
genuinely seems to be enjoying the little things again, like feeling the rain landing on her face and the sound of distant thunder causing her to smile, which unfortunately all comes crashing down as she comes to the unfortunate realization that she is indeed still in England. And when she sees someone at the bottom of a long dark tunnel who proceeds to screech and run straight towards her, because the country folk are just kinda weird like that. After running away through the picturesque English countryside and coming to the realization that she is now safe, she quickly realizes that she isn't safe as she takes a picture which happens to contain a completely naked man before turning around and walking away from the English and their really weird traditions. After politely denying a traditional English fried sausage, she has another flashback of her husband, but this time seeing as he's made a really annoying stain on the concrete, where he unfortunately didn't survive his run-in with a metal fence, as it doesn't take very kindly to spousal abuse. Or people falling on it. The next day while on a call, the naked man walks right through the garden behind her, as apparently the breeze feels great this time of year, before standing directly in the window, making absolutely no attempts to hide whatsoever, not even the slightest bit embarrassed about the currently drafty weather. After noticing him walking around the garden, he attempts to use the letterbox as a glory hole without quite understanding the
What
concept,
the-
before it cuts to a naked man placed in handcuffs while another man is on top of him. After I quickly delete my browser history, we see Harper visiting the local church and seeing a stoop that depicts a naked person giving themselves a DIY gynecological exam.
What
Because
the-
if there's one thing churches are known for, it's being inside of other people's genitals. She then takes a seat and begins to break down inside of the church doing a little cry, and a preacher appears in the background to be like, "Want a gynecology exam, love?" After entering a church, screaming in it and leaving, she sees a little boy sitting on the steps outside wearing a mask. He takes the mask off, and I really wish he hadn't, as with the face of a grown man, he asks Harper if she'd like to play a game of hide and seek. I hide forever, and you piss off. She ends up sitting with the priest with the smelly fingers and tells him the story of how her husband became her ex-husband. After being locked out of their home for hitting Harper, he apparently attempted to climb down from the neighbor's balcony, but slipped because his grip game was weak. And it's about this point where you'd start to realize that either your medication is wearing off, or you've taken far too much. Every male in this film is played by the same actor, Rory Kinnear, including whatever that little boy was supposed to be. Aborted. That's what it should have been. Well, almost every male, unless blackface isn't beneath him. Characters that, despite only some of them having a minuscule amount of screen time, were all equally fleshed out, as Rory stated that he created an autobiography for each character to make sure that each one of them was as believable as the last. especially the naked guy. He's my favorite. The priest then attempts to blame Harper for the death of her husband, stating that it's normal for men to strike their wives, and that if she gave him a chance to apologize, he wouldn't currently be being used as plant fertilizer. And in a lesson that needs to be taught to little boys all over the world, she tells the priest to fuck off.
Oh,
Harper then runs
damn.
into Jeffrey at the local pub, before running into Jeffrey at the local pub. After getting to know this really tight-knit community, the police officer from earlier walks in and informs Harper that they released the naked man because they thought it would be funny, and that he needs to be returned to his natural habitat. His natural habitat being hiding behind a tree in a cemetery with his bollocks flapping about in the wind. Relatable. After making it home, she texts the address to her friend Riley, who has a fascination with strange naked British men, before texting her back and telling her that she already knows where she is, as apparently she's incredibly enthusiastic about this particular naked British man. She sees the police officer staring at her from the garden, before he disappears as the light flickers.
what the?
When suddenly, one of the men from the pub appears and begins sprinting at her while screaming, because women just have that effect on him.
Damn.
After hiding in the house, hearing a window break, and being jump-scared by a sentient chair, Jeffrey then suddenly appears at the front door, because he likes his women, suffering from psychotic breaks. After finding that a bird had flown through the window, he heads outside to put Harper's mind at ease, but the lights flicker once again, and Jeffrey disappears to be replaced with Jeffrey, but naked. He blows
What
dandelion
the?
petals into her face, causing her hay fever to kick in and her eyes to water. After that incredibly normal interaction with a naked man, she realizes that her social meter is depleted and would rather not interact with the English. She walks inside, politely shakes his hand out of awkwardness as he puts it through the letterbox, before stabbing him in the arm with a knife because screw that body part in particular. After pulling his arm back through the letterbox, slowly tearing it into two as he goes, the wound begins to resemble one of the wounds that her husband suffered after forgetting that physics were a thing. Two things that I'm not going to be able to show you, unfortunately, because YouTube will put me in the naughty corner. Again, uncensored videos for YouTube members and patrons. Wink wink. She then sees the younger boy, with him now having the sliced open hand, as he's dragging the dead bird across the counter with the mask on its face. Ugh, all men are the same. He then approaches her with his floppy appendage, looking like he needs to be beaten more by his parents, before telling Harper that they're going to play a game of hide and seek. You hide, and I seek professional help. Another man from the pub breaks in, and just like the average Stella drinker, desperately tries to assault a woman. The priest then walks into the room that she's hiding in to tell her about their Lord and Savior, where he then proceeds to ask her how old she was when she lost her virginity, like a completely normal person.
Damn.
After getting those formalities out of the way, he puts his strong hand around her throat and begins breathing like Nikocado Avocado after an unfortunate run-in with a set of stairs. And after giving the priest just what he wants, a bit of penetration, Harper drives away from the house, but accidentally runs Jeffrey over for standing in the middle of the road like an idiot. He then gets up from that rather minor inconvenience, pulls her from the car, and steals it for himself, because this is the effect that video games are having on the elderly. After driving away, but just kidding, I'm coming back, he crashes the car trying to run Harper over, when the naked man appears with his face covered in twigs and leaves, as he wants to show her this really cool new stick he found. Resembling both the stonework from the church's stoop and extreme mental illness, his ankle snaps, a vagina appears where it very much shouldn't, and he births out a human. Another version of Jeffrey, same slit in his arm. Well, and down below too, I guess, as this one's stomach begins to bulge as well, before giving birth to themselves.
No, man. No. 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 No, man. Why did I watch this video? Why? Why, chat? Why? Why? Nah, man. No. I regret opening that video for sure. No. But somehow I have to continue looking at this. Damn.
Literally. A scene directly inspired by the anime that Alex Garland and his daughter got hooked on, Attack on Titan. An anime that, unfortunately for anime fans, doesn't have a 2,000-year-old being in the body of a 6-year-old girl, but an anime that involves extremely terrifying yet strange large humanoid creatures who consume people for sustenance. That person then follows Harper further into the house and begins to give birth through their back, because that's how all of that works. Followed by Harper not wanting to pay child support, picking up an axe from the other side of the room, and watching as it's the foot fetish people's favourite part of the movie, as he gives birth feet first out of his mouth. After finally learning how babies are born, Harper's ex-husband suddenly walks into the room with his injuries representing the injuries he received after his impromptu meeting with the concrete. The constant cycle of birth and injury, possibly representing the constant cycle of Harper's grief as she repeatedly thinks back to the moments before and after the death of her husband, before finally confronting him in the house as an interpretation of her confronting her grief, with each of the men Harper is introduced to possibly representing parts of her ex-husband. Jeffrey, at first a seemingly nice and helpful person, with something far more sinister beneath the surface. The little boy, rude and insulting when he doesn't get what he wants. The priest, a bit of a weirdo to be honest. The men from the pub, being outright aggressive and violent. And the naked guy, penis. All being something that isn't definitively answered.
Damn.
And something that probably won't be definitively answered. As Alex Garland has stated, that he doesn't like things to always be explained, so would much rather you sit back and relax and watch his feel-good movie about a landlord named Jeffrey. Do you want to get access to all uncensored versions of my videos going forward? Or how about getting access to the exclusive Discord server? Well, if you're interested in that type of stuff, consider checking out the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Starting with this week's new YouTube member sign-ups, a massive shout out to Jay.
Not gonna lie, this was a weird movie. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This was a weird movie. This is a weird movie. And a weird video as well. I don't know why did I watch this, but damn. I hope you guys liked it. Nah, you basically don't didn't like this at all, but somehow. Okay, never mind. Okay, so see you on the next video. Until then, bye.